All right, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I lost track of time, but we'll go ahead and get started here. If you got your question, go ahead. Question should be below the video if on a smart screen or to the right of the video if on a larger screen. All right, so we will start here with Fred K. says, what is the best way to get into proper posture, specifically standing a little taller? I bend the knees too much and my chest is too low. Yeah, so I can go over kind of like how you would generally want to approach or address the ball. So first, we want to get a little bit of bend in the knees, right? So when I say a little bit of bend in the knees, that's going to put your kneecaps straight down through the balls of your feet, right? So if you're going more toward your toes, you're bending your knees too much, right? The reason why we don't want to bend our knees too much is that we're going to tend to kind of stand up out of it, right? This is going to be a more athletic way to swing the club. So we don't want to have them locked out dead straight. It's not going to be able to move very athletically, and we don't want to have them too bent because then we're not going to be able to move athletically from there either. So a little bit of bend in the knees. You just want to drop down a little bit. And then once we've done that, relax your shoulders, relax your arms. Let them feel like wet noodles hanging from your shoulders. And I want you to keep the pressure from your heels to your toes equal, right? So we don't want to be too much in the toes, too much in the heels. Equal pressure. And you're going to push your hips back and your chest forward until your hands are roughly about a fist width in front of your legs. Once you're there, that's a good place to be. Now, for a wedge, you're going to tend to be a little bit more bent over. And then for longer clubs, like your driver, you're going to tend to be a little bit more upright in reaching for the ball, right? So if you look here, I'll have the driver here. So again, you just stand straight up, a little bit of flex in the knees, push hips back, chest down, keeping the pressure equal. Hands roughly about fist width in front. If I go there, that's going to put me in a good spot, right? If I grab the driver, I'm going to stay in that position, right? But then I'm going to stand up a little bit taller and just have my hands out just a little bit more because the club is so much longer, right? If we're like this, we're it's not going to tend to work quite as well. So we want to just be standing just a little bit taller with the longer clubs. All right, so R. Lafig says, hi Q, I always feel like I am tense or stiff in the golf swing. I will be sending videos as I am in the ball striking class, but what are your ways to eliminate this? Be loose and fluid. Thanks. Well, the first part would be getting into more of a more athletic stance, like what I talked about. If you're setting up with a lot of tension, I mean, you're just going to have tension in your golf swing, right? A lot of tension in your golf swing, right? So we want to be loose. We want to be athletic, with the golf swing. And then from there, I would say you want to make sure that you're making a good full turn, right? If you don't make a full turn, you're going to tend to really tense up and try to create power with the arms quickly, right? We want to make sure we get a full turn so that way we're able to create power more easily, right? And then the next piece would just be having loose wrists, right? So we want to let our wrists be nice and loose. Clay talks about this in the top speed lag course. So if that's something you struggle with, like you're always pulling the club back and pushing the club through too much, what I'd recommend doing is checking out the top speed lag course and working through that level 1, the lag progression, where Clay talks about the speed trail and feeling the moment, your body creating the momentum to make the club go back and forth, right? So those would be the things that I'd be working on. Get into a nice, relaxed, athletic setup, and then make sure you get a full turn in the swing, and that'd be really just going through the power turn course. And then the last piece would be making sure that our wrists are nice and loose, and our body is creating the movement of the club, the momentum of the club. And that's going to be the top speed lag course. So to get to these courses, you can click the instruction tab at the top, and then you can click the top speed golf system, and then you can click the appropriate course from there. All right, so Paul B says, I've done the 20-minute distance fix and gained 7 miles per hour. I have noticed my drive seem to launch much higher. Is this expected? My drive is currently set to 11 degrees. Yeah, I mean, it can be. Yeah, if you, it's not necessarily probably launching higher. It's probably just going higher because you're giving the ball more energy, right? So if you give the ball more energy, the ball will continue to climb up in the air, right? So if I launch it at this angle, let's say I swing it at 90 miles an hour, right? It's going to go, and then it's going to reach a certain point, and then it's going to start to come out, right? Well, then let's say, I gain 7 miles per hour, now I'm at 97. Well, I'm giving the ball more energy at the same launch, and then it's going to climb higher, and then it's going to start to come down. So it's normal to hit the ball higher with more club head speed. That's normal. Now, that's not to say that you can't be adding more loft, right? It's possible that you're certainly adding more loft by gaining, going through the process of gaining more club head speed. It's possible, but you're also going to hit it higher. You're not going to launch it higher, but all things equal, you're going to hit it higher because the ball's going to have more energy to continue to climb up in the air. That's what's going to make it go higher. And you should see my partner's face is awesome. Yeah, it's always nice. Thanks for sharing, Paul. Appreciate it. Heck, I'd keep working through that thing until you kind of plateau, really, for the most part. That way you can continue to gain club head speed. Yes, absolutely. Keep going. Keep going until you plateau. And then, as the way it stands, and then what I would do is I would try to increase the training volume. So, right now it's set up for 3 days a week, right? So, I would try to increase the training volume to like 5 days a week and see if you can get more gains that way, right? Other things would be, trying to get out of your comfort zone a little bit with the drills. Maybe right now you've been kind of staying, you know, within yourself. Get a little bit out of control with your training and see if that makes the speed go up, right? So all kinds of things that you can do for sure. All right, keep the questions coming. I've also noted when putting that my shoulders were tensed up. Yeah, so get a nice relaxed posture, right? And then from there, you'll be in a good spot. If you're just hopping on here, I'm just waiting for questions to be asked. So if you got questions, go ahead and ask. If not, no worries. If you're just jumping on the office hours here, I'm just waiting for a question to be asked. So if you got a question, now's a good time to ask. If not, no worries. All right. So Willis says, do you think feeling the ball lower, or sorry, teeing the ball lower will make it easier to hit it narrow fairway with trouble on both sides? Not necessarily. I mean, so here's what makes the ball go straight, right? Well, if you're hitting a driver, right, you don't have to worry about this, but we got to make sure we got make ball first contact. But making center face contact, squaring up the face, and coming to the ball with a more neutral path, right? So not coming way over the top, too much into out, or too much out to in with the path. So if we're coming in with kind of a 0-degree path where the club is kind of coming in at 0, we have the face square and we hit in the middle of the face, that ball will go straight. Teeing the ball lower, I mean, I don't know if that's going to have much of an effect on that. It's not likely, but it may help you to hit it a little bit. If you're hitting it too high on the face, which, I mean, if you're hitting it in the center face but too high on the face, it's still going to go straight, right? It's just going to go. It may just be like a pop up, right? So, so not necessarily. What's going to help you to hit the ball straight is hitting the ball in the middle of the face, squaring up the face, and having a neutral pass. So, what I would say is use some foot power spray, spray it on the club face, see if you have a tendency to hit it in the wrong part of the face, right? And then if you struggle, if you are hitting it in the middle of the face, but the ball's not going straight, work through the 20-minute shallowing fix to get your ball flight more dialed in. To get the 20-minute shallowing fix, click the instruction tab, then click the 20-minute shallowing fix from there. All right, so Lee P says, is there a dominant hand throughout the golf swing, or should grip pressure and hand dominance be evenly distributed? I mean, your dominant hand is going to be the dominant hand in the swing, but you're going to have more grip pressure in your lead hand because that's the hand that's farthest away from the club, right? So from a physics standpoint, that's where there's going to be the most pressure. But that doesn't mean that you're not dominating the swing with your trail hand. Both of the hands are playing a role. So I would look at it as the lead hand is like throwing a frisbee. The trailer hand is like skipping a rock, right? Those are what's happening with the hands in the swing. Lee P says, I see many players using a shorter backswing but still generate good speed. Does a shorter backswing mean that there is less shoulder turn? What is the real advantage of a shorter backswing? Well, I can't say I agree that I see many players. I mean, the only really two that come to mind are going to be Tony Finau and John Rahm. But if they took a bigger backswing, they would hit the ball farther. There is video of both of them swinging 130 plus miles an hour with a full backswing. Now, with Tony Finau, I'm not sure why he doesn't make a full backswing, or when I say full backswing, I mean relative to his peers. He's making a full backswing he's making a longer backswing than I see a lot of recreational golfers making. But they're still getting a full shoulder turn. They're just staying really wide with their hands. They're not breaking down their arms as much. But the shorter backswing does not create more power. The advantage for John Rahm, I've heard him talk about this. He was born with a club foot, and his trail foot is not stable when he makes a big turn, like a more bigger backswing. So for him, he has more stability. So that's his advantage to doing that. But he could swing faster if he took a bigger backswing. Tony Finau, again, I'm not sure exactly why. But here's what I would say about the short backswings. If you can swing 120 plus miles an hour, like John Rahm and Tony Finau, with a shorter backswing, then by all means, go ahead. There's no golf course that's going to be too long for you, right? But if you're swinging 80, 90 miles an hour with a short backswing, I highly recommend you take a fuller backswing so that way you can get your club head speed up. There's no technique in the golf swing that gives you more club head speed than making a bigger turn. Nothing. It's the number one thing that gets you more club head speed. So yeah, I don't recommend taking a shorter backswing. I've lengthened way more swings than I've shortened. The only time I really shorten a swing is if someone is just breaking down their arms, right? So they're making this big full turn, but then they're just kind of going like this. They're really like maybe cupping the wrists a lot and bending the arms a lot, right? Because if you look here, if I'm making this big turn and I'm doing that, right, that's a long swing. But if I get in a better position now I just have a nice big turn here. I'm in a much better arm and wrist structure. All right, we got about 30 minutes left if we have any more questions. If not, no worries. All right. So Alan S says in the 20-minute posture fix, Clay states that a cause may be too much right hand. What is the proper amount, and when is the right hand used in the swing? Well, it's used throughout the entire swing, right? So, if you didn't use the right hand at all, you just don't put it on the club, right? So it's used throughout the entire swing. Um, you're using it to hinge the club up. Basically, what he's saying is that if we throw the right hand early, so if we're coming down and we throw that right hand early, right, we have to stand up out of it. Because if I'm here and I throw my right hand and I'm not turning through the shot, right, well, then I'm just going to throw the club into the ground. So I need to feel like I'm throwing that right hand out in front. So the way I would look at it, think about it this way. If you're going to throw a ball with your right hand, when are you going to use your right hand? You're using your right hand throughout the entire throw. You're holding onto the ball, then you let it go. It's no different in the golf swing, right? We just don't want to let that right hand go right here, right? That's what we don't want. We want it to happen out there, right? So that's really what it comes down to, is just that feeling of getting it to release out in front. So you're using the right hand throughout. It's just that you want to throw it out there, not there. Because if you throw it at the ball and release it at the ball, then you're going to throw it into the ground. You're going to have to stand up to make room for the club. All right, we got about 20 minutes left if we have any more questions. So John says, "Hi Q, I have trouble getting the full left hip turn. Is there a drill to help? I seem to stop and not get a full turn." I would just recommend working through the power turn section. That covers everything you need to do to make a good turn. So work through the sections, put in the reps, make sure that you're checking yourself on video, and you're nailing it on video, right? And put in the reps, and then work through level 1, level 2, level 3. That's what I would recommend doing. So to get to the power turn course, click the instruction tab, and then click the Tuskegee system, and then you can click the power turn course from there. I wish I could just give you one drill that's just going to make you turn, but it really depends on what's preventing you from turning, right? And the Tuskegee system, the power turn course itself, has drills that pretty much cover everything that you're going to run into that would prevent you from turning. So check out that course, work through the drills, and you'll be good to go. No problem, John. Glad to help. All right. If you're just joining us, I'm just waiting for questions to be asked. So if you got a question, feel free to ask. If not, no worries. So John says, do you have some video suggestions on stretches to properly warm up and cool down? I don't have anything to cool down. I don't really do anything to cool down besides maybe like the 19th hole lounge. Um, but as far as a warm up is concerned, um, I don't do any stretches myself. I just like hit balls as a warm up. So I start out with shorter, slower swings, like pitch shots, and then I build up from there. I don't really do any stretches or anything. If you go to we actually have a fitness section where there's some stretches, but they're more like stretches to help you to get into the positions that we talk about in the Top Speed Golf system, like help you to get a bigger turn and things like that. So if you go to the instruction tab, if you go to the home page by clicking the house icon, and you scroll down on that page, you'll see a list of all the courses, and you'll see there's a fitness section there, and it basically goes over some stretches that you can do to help with that. It's led by Joe Yoon, who is an expert in that sort of thing. So if you want to check it out, that's where you can go to check out. But I personally don't do any stretches. It's not that I'm super flexible or anything like that. I just find that it didn't really help. It doesn't really help me. It helps me the most to actually like do a warm up is in the sense of hitting balls, starting with shorter, slower swings, and then build up from there. That basically gets you to where you're loosening up and you're finding a rhythm and tempo, and then you're building up to longer and faster swings. So Dr. Dake, excuse me, says, can you review the importance of and when to be connected in the swing? Um, well, really, as far as connected is concerned, you only really want to be connected at impact, right? So at impact, and even then, you don't have to be. There are players that aren't. But what I mean by that is at impact, typically this is going to be connected right here, and your trail armpit is going to be more connected, but you're not necessarily going to be like on your body with your trail arm. There's some players that are, but there's a lot of elite golfers that don't, that actually have space between their trail arm. Now their trail arm is in, but it may not be actually touching, right? I would say the majority of golfers, elite golfers, do not have their trail arm touching, but it is coming in. They're connected in the armpit, but not necessarily, they're down farther on their arm. It's not connected to their body. And then here, it's more, of a connection here. I like to see disconnection in the swing when we get up to the top. if I keep this pinned, if I were to stay connected, you can see how restricted my swing is. I'm just not going to be able to create a lot of power here. So I want to actually disconnect, get my arm away from my body, so that way I can elevate the club and be able to create some more speed. And then that's just going to move back down toward my body. Now, again, it's not necessarily going to connect here, but my armpit is going to get tighter, right? But it's not necessarily going to connect. And then my lead arm, as I'm turning my chest through, right, is typically going to be more connected, right? And then, but like I said, there are players that don't. You know, if you look at like a Jordan Spieth, he's like this. There's no connection there at all. His armpit is open, right? So it's not a requirement. It's not, you know, it's, I will say, if you feel connected and that helps you to hit better golf shots, then by all means do that. But it's not something you have to do in the golf swing to be successful, right? Well, basically, what top speed golf is predicated on is doing the few things in the swing that matter the most. That's not one of them, right? On a grand scale of things. That doesn't mean it's not important for you specifically, personally, but on the grand scale of things, it's not something that you have to do. That's why it's not, you know, when we're talking about, when Clay's talking about the top speed golf system, he doesn't really mention connected ever, because it's just not that important in the golf swing, right? It's more about how your arms and everything are moving and the club is moving down to the ball. If you having your arms cinched to your body helps you to do that better, then by all means do that. But I like to have a more freer and athletic swing, right? Think about it this way. You know, what we're doing with this club is we're throwing this club into the ball, right? If you were to throw a ball with maximum power, would you have your arm connected to you like this? Of course not, right? It's just not going to be very powerful. It's not going to be very powerful in the golf swing either, right? So I'm not a big connected guy, because it just doesn't lead to very good power. If you look at the longest hitters, they're not connected, right? They're connected they might be connected at impact right here in this area. I would say the majority of golfers have some connection here, kind of in the lead armpit area, and the trail armpit area is moving in. There's no great players that are like this with that trail arm. They all have it a little bit in the shoulder here, externally rotated, and they have some connection here. But it's not like, I think people, when they think connected, have this idea that it's going to be like this. Well, if you imagine, if you were to kind of take a belt and put it around my torso here, around my arm, if I were to stay like that, it's just not going to be very powerful at all. It's going to be very, very weak. So I don't really recommend doing that, trying to stay connected. But hey, if it helps you to hit better golf shots, who am I to tell you not to do it, right? All right, got a couple more minutes left here.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there. Thanks everybody for joining me. We'll be back here Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a great weekend. Lots of stuff going on this weekend. We got the Kentucky Derby tomorrow and Cinco de Mayo on Sunday. So should be an eventful weekend. Everybody have a great weekend, and I'll talk to y'all next time.